3 spine-chilling Craigslist encounters. Terrifying true tales of the haunted and cursed revealed. Claire's heart raced as she thumbed through her Craigslist feed, narrowing in on an ad that seemed to shimmer unnaturally against the dull backdrop of her crumbling life. Local handyman, all your home repair needs. The smile in the photograph felt wide, inviting, yet the deep lines around his eyes hinted at something lurking in the shadows. Was it her wild imagination? Or did that smile conceal a darkness just waiting to seep through? The first week they spent together was almost normal. Dave was friendly enough, expertly fixing her porch and filling her home with jovial laughter. Jake and Sophie giggled as he played with them, blissfully unaware of their mother's unease. But soon, whispers drifted through the disheveled rooms at night, feathery caresses in the dark. The wind howled outside, chiming in to witness the tension. While Claire felt something creeping under her skin, her once safe haven now wrapped in an icy grip of fear. But it was the second week when the unease turned palpable. One afternoon, as Claire wiped down the diner counter, the lights in her house flickered violently. She could feel her heart beating against her ribcage, an erratic drum signaling her mounting panic. Get it together, she told herself, but clutching the coffee pot, she felt all too aware of the haunting secrets nestled in the walls of her shabby home. Dave seemed to know her children well. Too well. How did he know Jake built towers in the living room? How could he recognize the tattered baby blanket Sophie refused to part with? These thoughts knotted in her gut until she could barely breathe, swelling into a twisted mix of fear and indignation. Thankfully, Jake and Sophie remained blissfully unaware, spinning Lego towers, their laughter a brief glimmer against the encroaching dread. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the days rolled into one another, Claire confronted Dave. How do you know those things about my kids? She demanded, her voice wavering but fierce. He paused, a dark smile spreading across his face. Claire, some houses hold old wounds, some secrets can't be fixed. He warned. Every word sent a chill coursing through her veins. The air around her thickened, dense with a morbid tension. Shadows around the corners of the rooms began to swell, rolling and flickering without a source. It was then she noticed her neighbor's eyes dart away whenever she encountered them. They whispered behind closed doors, their gazes fixated on her with veiled concern and distrust. Cold panic settled in her limbs, paralyzing her. She stumbled across her living room, scanning the walls for signs of the unseen. The whispers thrummed rhythmically, echoing her own spiraling thoughts. She felt trapped, caught in layers of darkness, each moment consumed by the gnawing questions of who she could trust. As the whisper intensified through the haunting silence, one dreadful realization struck. Could she keep her children safe in a place that seemed to fester with an ancient, malevolent presence? With the weight of dread pressing down on her heart, Claire found herself racing against time and shadows, desperate to uncover the truth of Dave and the horrors lurking in every corner of her life. Would she unravel the mysteries before it was too late? The unanswered questions clung to her, every breath tinged with fear. Would they make it out alive? The lingering question wrapped around her, poised over her family like a dark storm cloud, and the only thing she knew for certain was that the nightmare was only just beginning. The night wrapped around Claire like a suffocating blanket. She lay wide awake, the whispers creeping through her mind, unmistakable, slithering into her thoughts. Was it the wind? Or was it something more? Every gust against the windows felt like fingers brushing across her skin, urging her to listen, to heed their ominous call. She glanced toward the clock. 2:37 a.m. The shadows seemed alive, dancing under the faint moonlight that bled through her curtains. She tried to shake off the unease. Just the wind, she muttered and closed her eyes, but sleep would not come. The house groaned, an aged beast restless in the dark. Suddenly, a soft thud erupted from the hallway. Heart racing, Claire held her breath. "Jake, Sophie?" The silence responded, heavy and foreboding. She padded quietly down the corridor, every creak of the floor sending ripples of dread coursing through her as she reached the living room. The sight before her froze her in place. There, looming in the darkness, was Dave. His back was turned, and he stood eerily still, staring out through the window. Light from outside framed him like a ghostly silhouette. Claire's stomach churned as she took a step forward. "What are you doing?" she demanded, trying to keep her voice steady. Dave turned slowly, the smile stretched across his face, more terrifying in the shadows. "Just watching, Claire." His voice dripped with a disquieting calm. "The night has its ways of revealing the truth." "What truth?" she pressed, her pulse hammering against her eardrums. He stepped closer, shadows cascading around him like dark water. "The truth of this house, of your family, of the past." His eyes glinted with something she couldn't decipher. Was it menace? Or was it pity? Without a word, he gestured toward the wall, remnants of peeling wallpaper revealing a faded image of a little girl with dark eyes laughing. Claire took a step back, feeling the air thicken around her. The chill burrowed deep, filling her with a sensation of crawling dread. "Do you see her?" Dave whispered, his tone slipping into something almost reverential. "She played just like your children." Claire's breathing quickened. "What happened to her?" He shrugged, a hollow gesture that sent shivers racing down her spine. "Some secrets are best buried or passed on." An unsettling laughter bubbled within her, but her throat choked it back. She felt her skin crawl again, and the shadows seemed to pulse with energy. "You need to leave," she demanded, desperate, not just for him to go, but for the hidden terror that curled within her home. "Leave?" His laughter was low, sinister. "But I'm just getting started." And that was when she heard it, a faint giggle, echoing from the children's room. Her heart lurched, a stab of panic slicing through her. "Sophie! Jake!" She bolted toward their door, dread echoing in her footsteps. The whispers sharpened, turning frantic as she pushed the door open, gasping as she did. The room was empty, toys scattered across the floor, doll heads dismembered and stark white against the shadowy corners. "Where are they?" she screamed, spinning in search, her throat closing in. As if in response, the lights flickered, casting strange shadows across the walls. In the dim glow, the little girl's laughter echoed again, far too close, sending icy fingers crawling along her spine. Claire felt the shadows twist into shapes' faces, hands clawing at her from the depths. "Come play with us." A voice crooned from the dark. Slipping back, Claire slammed the door shut and pressed her back against it, every breath shallow. She could feel a presence thrumming in the air, thick like fog, swarming toward her. "What is happening to my family?" Claire thought, panic boiling over. Before she could think, she stole a glance back at the hallway. Dave stood there just out of sight, an unwavering sentinel in the abyss. With her heart racing and horror gripping her throat, Claire knew, whatever Dave was, he was far more than just a handyman. And as she felt the walls begin to close in, a question echoed louder than the rest. Would she dare confront the monster lurking in her home before it was too late? And just as the shadows pressed in, the laughter merged with her pulse, whispering the dark secrets she was afraid to uncover, leaving her teetering on the edge of madness. Claire scanned the room, the air thick with dread. The walls felt like they were closing in around her, and the shadows twisted like vipers, seeking a way in. "Sophie! Jake!" she shouted again, but her voice trembled, cracking under the weight of her fear. The laughter floated through the house again, haunting and merry. It echoed off the walls, wrapping around her like a serpent. "Come play with us," the words danced at the edges of her mind, pulling at her sanity. "No!" she yelled, her voice almost lost in the cacophony of whispers. Adrenaline surged through her, fueling her desperation as her mind raced to find a way out of this nightmare. She turned the handle, grasping for the door latch, but the knob felt slick, her sweaty palms slipping. With a frustrated twist, She finally tore the door open and dashed into the hallway. But the corridor seemed different now. The shadows were darker, more oppressive. Each corner felt like they were hiding secrets she was not prepared to confront. "Where are you?" she cried into the void, the silence returning her plea like a bitter echo. A creak sounded from the floor above, followed by soft thuds, like tiny feet padding along a distant hallway. Claire's heart fell into her stomach. Sophie had a penchant for wandering at night, but never this late. As she ascended the stairs, a chill pressed against her back, urging her to turn around. "Just the wind," she whispered, hoping to comfort herself. But the house felt alive, breathing with the heavy pulse of dread. She reached the landing, the door to her children's room ajar. The laughter flared again, now a shrill chant echoing a taunting refrain. "Come play with us." Steeling herself, Claire pushed the door wide open, and her breath caught in her throat. Inside, the room was transformed. The walls were lined with shifting shadows, images flickering across them. Flashes of laughter and cries of joy turned sinister. The toys lay scattered, but new figures surrounded them, shadowy children, their faces obscured. "Join us," one called, the voice creaking like aged floorboards. Claire knew those voices, recognized the sweet pitch laced with something else, something haunting. "Get away from them," Claire shouted, but the shadows merely swayed, their dark forms beckoning her closer. "Mommy, we're playing," Sophia's tiny voice echoed, but it was overlapped by the cackling of the unseen. Claire felt a rush of nausea as she struggled to comprehend the scene unfolding in front of her. "Stop it," she screamed, her voice breaking. She stepped forward, intent on snatching her children away from whatever dark force had gripped them. But as she reached for the shadows, they dissipated, twisting and writhing until they became nothing more than smoke. "No," Claire gasped. It sent shivers down her spine. "Where are you?" The lights flickered violently, plunging the room into darkness. Tremors coursed through her body. She could feel the walls vibrating with unseen horror. Just then, behind her, Dave's voice slithered through the gloom. "Do you see now, Claire? They're inviting you to join them." She spun around, her heart racing, desperation clawing at her. "Why are you doing this?" "Because," he whispered, his voice low and chilling, "they need your love." Just like the girl needed hers. With a sudden clarity, realization flooded her. This wasn't just about her family anymore. It was about something bound to the house, a cycle of darkness that had been unleashed. She forced herself to breathe, building courage. "I need to protect them." She turned back to the shadows, gathering everything within her. "You will not take my children." But the air crackled with tension, and from the darkness, their giggles rose to a feverish pitch. Claire stepped forward, ready to fight. But before she could reach the door again, everything went black. Silence settled. And in that void, Claire felt a spark of hope flicker. They were still alive. She just needed to find them. But before she could move, a breath brushed against her ear. Icy and familiar. "Stay with us, Claire, we've been waiting for you." Her heart plummeted. What would she face next? And what price must she pay to save her family? A horrifying thought grasped her, spiraling her deeper into despair. Was she ready to unearth the truth hiding in the shadows, or would it claim her instead? Claire's body felt weightless in the darkness, suspended in a void where panic mingled with a desperate need to wake from this nightmare. Cold seeped through her veins, mixing with the adrenaline that thrummed in her ears, drowning out any rational thought. A soft giggle, tainted with mockery, split through the air, chilling her to the bone. "Mommy," the voice pulled at her heart, a sweet melody now overrun by tragedy. "Where are you, Sophie?" She screamed again, forcing her limbs to move. She stumbled forward, still grasping for stability in the oppressive dark. But even her own voice seemed swallowed whole. Then, against the nothingness, a flicker of light emerged, faint but insistent. Pulsed like a heartbeat, drawing her closer. Just as she reached for it, the light vanished, plunging her into a darkness deeper than before. Shadows seemed to gather at the edges of her vision, creeping closer, whispering secrets she dared not comprehend. "Join us," the echoed words twisted her stomach. Claire felt like she was teetering on the edge of a precipice, the dark below whispering promises of some sinister truth. She shook her head, trying to dispel the imagery, a mosaic of frightened children trapped just beyond her reach, pulled into a realm she could barely begin to fathom. A sudden crash reverberated through the house, splintering the silence. Furniture toppled in the distance, a chaotic symphony of fear. "Sophie! Jake!" Claire called, her voice raw and raspy. She heard laughter again, harmonized, chilling, and so unnaturally blissful it turned her insides cold. Claire took a deep breath, the stale air heavy with mildew and old memories. No more games. She staggered toward the sound, heart racing, pulse pounding against her temples. Each footstep felt like a drum announcing her approach, inviting more torment. In the corridor, shadows danced under the dim glow of an overhead light that flickered sporadically like distant thunder. Claire felt eyes upon her. She glanced over her shoulder. Nothing but dark corners stared back. Then she saw it, an outline of a small figure, hardly tall enough to stand, standing at the entrance to a room. Claire's breath caught. "Sophie! Sophie!" she cried, lunging forward. "Come play with us," came the reply, deceptively innocent but woven with an insidious undertone. Claire halted, heart hammering in her chest, rational thought fading. As the giggles crescendoed, more figures materialized around Sophie. They were smaller, faceless, their grinning mouths wide and unnatural against the delicate features of her daughter. Panic clawed at Claire's throat. Sophie blinked, her eyes glassy, unaware of the darkness wrapping around her like a fog. "Step away from her!" Claire shouted, but the shadows seemed stronger now, coiling around her daughter, suffocating her cries in a blanket of night. "Mommy? Why are you scared?" Sophie's voice slipped through the silence as she reached timidly toward the figures, the innocence in her tone a dagger to Claire's heart. "Stop! Don't touch them!" Claire shouted, her body moving instinctively, propelled by love and fear. But the ground beneath her felt treacherous, like quicksand. Each step swallowed her up, pulling her back towards those sinister figures that now extended their arms, inviting and cruel. The darkness began to swirl around her, rushing at her like a storm. Claire lost her footing, stumbling as the shadows reached out, cold tendrils wrapping around her wrists, demanding her submission. "Join us," they hissed. "No!" Claire roared, fighting with everything left in her. She wrestled against the dark fingers, the sickening pull of despair tightening around her heart. She needed to break free, but the shadows taunted her, whispering secrets that made her blood run cold. "What are you?" Claire gasped, desperate. "What do you want?" "You know," they murmured, their voices now layered with an echoing truth. "You always have." Her vision blurred, the reality of the moment crashing down, revealing layers of darkness she'd long buried. What did that mean? Focusing entirely on Sophie, Claire forced one final plea. "I love you, sweetheart. Don't give in to them." And then the darkness surged. All went black once more. When the light returned again, Claire was not alone. What awaited her in that flicker of illumination? Was it hope or a new nightmare? The questions clawed at her mind, leaving her breathless. Claire blinked against the harsh glow that enveloped her, momentarily blinding her from the shadows that had consumed her moments before. Her heart pounded in her chest, a frantic drumbeat echoing in the suffocating silence. She squinted, searching for Sophie, the warmth of her daughter's presence now seemingly gone, replaced by that mocking laughter that sent chills racing down her spine. The light flickered like a dying star, revealing the ghostly outline of a room. Walls painted in peeling pastels, now dripping memories of joy that felt foreign and twisted. Claire stumbled, dread coiling around her gut, paralyzing her thoughts. "Mommy?" The voice came again, softer this time, drifting like smoke. From the corner of her eye, she caught a glimpse of movement, little hands reaching from the shadows. They were mere echoes of children, faceless and eerie, beckoning with ghoulish smiles. Panic surged through Claire. "Sophie!" she shouted, straining to swallow back the bile rising in her throat. All at once, the walls seemed to shift, bending and swirling, the room morphing into a hall of mirrors. Her reflection twisted grotesquely, revealing a warped visage that looked back at her with hollow eyes. The childlike figures darkened, moving closer, their giggles growing louder, more deranged, more twisted. "Why are you here?" Claire stammered, backing away, desperate for an escape. "What do you want from us?" "Join our game," they chanted, circling her, their thin fingers stretching out like spider legs. "We're always playing." "Come play." With each word, shadows expanded, creeping across her skin. They clung to her like wet leaves, slowing her movements, fogging her mind. Claire screamed again. "Let her go." Then she saw Sophie, nestled against the dark figures. Was her daughter smiling? Their silhouettes merged, a sea of dark beneath their delicate features. "Mommy, it's fun." The innocence in her voice felt like a stab in the heart. The shadows rejoiced, echoing her words back, mimicking her childish laughter. "No," Claire cried, the sound raw and anguished. "You can't take her. I won't let you." Summoning every ounce of strength, she charged forward. The shadows recoiled, hissing like angry serpents, but Claire pushed through, propelled by sheer willpower. Grabbing Sophie by the shoulders, she pulled her back. The laughter rang harshly, penetrating her soul. "Why are you fighting, Mommy?" Sophie's voice wavered, confusion clouding her gaze. "They just want to play. We can all be happy, not like this," Claire retorted fiercely, her heart racing as the faces around her shifted, their smiles stretching wider, more grotesque. "Not with them." Suddenly, the atmosphere thickened. The air grew exponentially heavy, making it hard to breathe. The shadows pressed against her, like hands gripping her throat, choking her resolve. "Join us," they chorused, a sound omnipresent, wrapping around her consciousness. "Never," Claire screamed, pulling Sophie close, gazing into her daughter's eyes, searching for the warmth she had always known. "We're leaving." But the darkness surged again, and Claire noticed flickering images in the shadowy depths around them, flashes of other children, other mothers screaming, all lost to the haunting lure of the darkness. The space around them trembled, the boundaries between reality and nightmare blurring. "Mommy, please." Sophie's voice lost its childlike innocence, replaced by something colder, something that didn't belong. "No," Claire insisted, clutching Sophie tighter, tears streaming down her cheeks. The child's gaze shifted, and in that heartbeat, Claire recognized the flicker of her daughter fading away. With a final roar of defiance, Claire twisted, ready to fight, when the shadows swelled, consuming everything in a deafening silence. And then nothing. When she opened her eyes again, the darkness had a new shape. A door stood before her, slightly ajar, whispering secrets of dread and temptation. Was this a path to safety or another trap laid out for her? The air crackled with tension, and as Claire took a step toward the door, the whispers returned. "Join us, don't leave." Something ominous lay just beyond. Would she be brave enough to uncover the truth? Or would she be drawn further into the abyss? Claire hesitated, her breath shallow and her palms clammy against the cool doorknob. The whispers danced in her ears, slithering like serpents, urging her forward. "Join us. Don't leave." She shuddered, ice-cold fear crawling up her spine. The shadows flitted at the edge of her vision, their presence palpable and suffocating. She glanced back at Sophie. Where was her daughter? Was that her child's laughter resilient within the darkness, or had it morphed into something more sinister? Gritting her teeth, Claire pushed the door wider. A creak echoed, a haunting invitation. Beyond the threshold lay another world, draped in thick, black fog that coiled like restless snakes. Shapes flickered in and out of sight, barely there, but undeniably present. "Stay with me, Sophie," she shouted into the thickness, unsure of her own voice, quaking in the face of the unknown. "No, Mommy," a voice rippled out, pulling at her heart like a taut string. "I want to play." Her stomach dropped. Sophie was still here. She could hear her, a mere whisper against the chaos. Claire stumbled forward, stepping into the fog, her pulse racing faster with each step as she entered. The door groaned shut behind her. The warmth of the light was replaced by a damp chill. Shadows shifted eagerly at the corners of her vision, like creatures hungry for her presence. "Mommy?" The voice echoed again, but this time it was distorted, as if passing through a thick glass. Panic surged as she felt fingers skimming her skin cold and clammy. Heart racing, she turned, but saw only the murky outlines swirling around her. "Where are you?" Claire's voice trembled, desperation clawing at her throat. She took another step forward, the ground squelching, as if she were stepping on something soft and rotten beneath her feet. "Over here," Sophie's voice called, clearer now, but shrouded by the surrounding darkness. Claire's heart pounded. She could do this. She had to be strong for Sophie in the thick gloom. A flicker caught her eye, a pale figure, small and childlike. As she approached, the shape dissipated into shadow, laughter erupting like shattered glass around her. The hairs on her neck stood on end as the realization hit her. She wasn't alone. Not just with Sophie. "Join us, play forever," whispered voices taunted from the swirling chaos. Claire felt their icy breath against her skin, prickling her flesh. "No," she snapped. "I refuse to play your game." With a surge of defiance, she closed her eyes, channeling the love she had for her daughter. It was a light in this darkness, a beacon guiding her out. Summoning her resolve, she yelled Sophie's name, louder this time, dispelling the whispers, redistributing the weight of the shadows back to where they came from. "Mommy!" Sophie's voice quaked with pure emotion, and suddenly, Claire felt a tugging at her side. The fog parted, a small hand grasping her wrist, warm and real. Claire opened her eyes to find Sophie standing with wide, terrified eyes. The shadows grew restless, hissing at the new presence. "Don't let go," Claire shouted, gripping her daughter's hand tightly. But as they turned to flee, a chilling figure emerged from the darkness. It stretched its shadowy limbs, blocking their way, its face a gaping maw, wide with an unholy grin that felt like the end of hope. "Where do you think you're going?" it crooned, the voice echoing with malice. Claire felt her heart clamp down in fear. They could not escape. Not like this. "Mommy!" Sophie cried. And in that moment time froze. The room swayed around them and the figure loomed closer, its breath stinking of decay. "Not until the game is over," it hissed, and Claire realized with a jolt this was just the beginning. With feet rooted in dread, the void yawned deeper, promising horrors unseen. Claire inhaled sharply, knowing they had stumbled into something darker than she could imagine. What choice did she have now? Would she fight or embrace the darkness? The answer lay just beyond reach as the figure closed in, trapping them in its suffocating shadow. What would Claire sacrifice to save her child? The walls whispered tantalizingly, "Choose, choose, choose." The figure loomed larger, its gaping maw inches from Claire's face. Each breath it took swirling the fog tighter around them. The air turned thick and suffocating. A grotesque mirth twisted its features, as if their fear delighted it. "You wanted to play, didn't you?" "No," Claire screamed, pulling Sophie closer, the warmth of her child bolstering her against the cold terror. But the sound of her voice was swallowed by a cacophony of laughter, exuberant and haunting, echoing through the gloom. The shadows pressed in, darting and twisting, reaching for her like desperate hands. "Choose." The voices melded together, a chorus of malice that tickled the back of Claire's mind. "Sophie or your own life? Choose." Claire's heart raced, wild with panic. Was it possible she had to make a choice? The room felt alive, each dark corner eager, writhing in anticipation. She was caught in a nightmare, a sick game enforced by shadows that toyed with their fears. The figure extended a long, bony finger towards Sophie, the nails sharp and jagged like splintered glass. "Such a special child. She'll make a delightful addition. Imagine the games you could both play forever." A choked sob escaped Claire's lips as she tried to contemplate the horror of losing her little girl. Sophie, wide-eyed with combined terror and trust, looked up at her mother. "I don't want to play, Mommy." I want to go home. The question burned inside Claire's mind. Could she save her daughter? Did fighting back mean losing Sophie? No. I won't let you take her. Claire's resolve blazed, cutting through the suffocating haze. She squeezed Sophie's hand tighter, the warmth anchoring her in reality. The laughter faded, replaced by a low, rumbling growl from the figure. Its eyes burned like two coals of malice, fixing on Claire with an intensity that trapped her spirit. Once you enter, there's no escape. She will be mine. Oh God. Claire felt the room tremble as shadows twisted and swirled angrily. The walls seemed to pulse rhythmically with the shadow's fury. A hiss reverberated through the darkness, skirting around the edges of her consciousness. I can give you power, the figure rasped, its voice honeyed with temptation. All I need is a choice. No, Claire shouted, pulling Sophie tightly against her. If a choice had to be made, she would refuse this sick offer. But the very thought of whatever awaited her if they stood against the darkness nared at her heart. Then she will be lost, and you will pay with your own soul, the figure hissed, its face twisting into a snarl, revealing teeth sharper than blades. The fog thickened, swirling faster, a vortex threatening to cement their trapped fate. Shadows beckoned from all around, beckoning, taunting, promising salvation amidst the terror. Mommy! Sophie cried, clutching her tightly, both now hoisted into an uprising wave of darkness threatening to consume them whole, with no clear escape and time slipping away. Claire thrust herself forward, fueled by raw adrenaline. I'd rather die than let you have her. The figure reeled back, its face distorting in fury. The shadows writhed, their form compressing around Claire and Sophie as if the very fabric of the world was tightening around them. And then, without warning, the ground beneath them roared to life, a fissure splitting wide, revealing a vast, gaping abyss at their feet. The shadows lunged forward, gripping at Claire's ankles, desperately pulling her in. She could feel the cold grasp of the void clinging to her, longing to drag her down into eternal darkness. Hold on, Claire screamed, sheer desperation fueling her strength. But at that moment Sophie let go. Mommy! She cried, taking a step back, her little voice trembling in the chaos. Time stuttered. From the edge of the abyss, Sophie's fragile figure stood swaying, small against the towering shadow. The darkness twisted malevolently, its breath hot and foul as it turned its baleful gaze to Claire. Choose wisely, it mocked, the whisper curling around them like smoke. Claire's world splintered as she lunged for her daughter. But how could she save them both? What awaited in the depths was more than just shadows. It was a decision that could seal their fate and bind them to this haunting forever. Would she reach her in time? Claire's heart thundered in her chest, as if picking up the rhythm of the dark shadows swirling around her. The figure's eyes were now two blazing embers of malicious glee, and its laughter echoed with a rolling, sickening depth that reverberated through her bones. She felt as if every piece of her was being pulled apart, laid bare to be devoured by the abyss. Mommy! I'm scared, Sophie whimpered, her small hands quivering in the cold night air. Claire's world narrowed to that frightened face, her daughter's innocent plea rattling through her like a desperate lifeline. Don't move, Claire shouted, though the words felt weak against the swirling tempest. She frantically scanned the ominous surroundings, searching for anything that could anchor them to safety. But the darkness twisted and danced, shifting and changing as if it had a will of its own. The abyss yawned wide, gaping and hungry, pulling at her like an irresistible current. Claire felt a flicker of doubt. Maybe the figure was right. Was it impossible to fight? No. She inwardly screamed, the refusal filling her with fiery resolve. No choice would be made if it meant losing Sophie. With every ounce of strength she could muster, she lunged toward Sophie, sprinting against the clawing shadows. They attempted to bind her in the fog, as sinuous shadows tightened around her legs. Each twisted tendril sought to pull her back into the gulf, away from her daughter. Hold on, sweetheart. Sophie could only stare in wide-eyed terror, teetering on the edge of oblivion. Her little hands shook, struggling against the grotesque pull of the darkness. "Mommy! Help!" With a primal scream, Claire reached forward, stretching every inch of her body as if it could somehow bridge the treacherous distance. Another shadow lunged at her, lashing out, but she ducked and maneuvered, driven by sheer determination. "Please, just a little closer." The figure's laughter deepened, rolling into a terrifying roar that swallowed reason. "It's too late for her, Claire. Step into the void, and I will give you power beyond your wildest dreams." Power? What power could weigh against the loss of her daughter? A wild idea sparked in her mind. She feigned a step back. "You think I'm afraid of you?" Claire steeled her gaze, her expression defying the figure's frightening presence. "You are nothing but shadows. Stop trying to frighten me." For a moment the figure faltered, taking a step back as if caught off guard. Claire seized against the opening, plunging forward once more as the shadows hesitated. "Don't listen!" Sophie screamed now, her voice laced with fear as she trembled. Each second felt eternal, a heavy anticipation hanging in the air that life and death could tip with a breath. Just as Claire's fingers brushed against Sophie's arm, the temperature plummeted. A chilling whisper passed through her, caressing her ears. "We can offer you more than mere existence, consider." The shadows rallied, lunging again, but this time, it was as if they moved in slow motion. Claire's heart raced, shattering the moment as she yanked Sophie back into her arms, wrapping her tightly as they took a step away from the chaos. "Stand with me, Sophie. We can't let it win." But the cracks around them deepened, and the soft, pleading voice of Sophie broke through Claire's resolve. "Mommy, I don't want to lose you." In that instant, the laughter returned, echoing with triumph. The shadows began receding, but something darker lurked beneath. A choice still loomed, an unspoken bargain that enticed from the depths. "What if it's not just Sophie?" The figure hissed. "What if I could let you live, but leave her behind?" The words were a loaded gun, their weight crushing down as Claire stared deep into the looming darkness, wondering if she had the power to win, or if all was lost in the cold grasp of despair. Would she risk it all, pulling them both back to safety, or could the abyss tempt her to sacrifice one for the other? As the shadows shifted and the ultimatum hung heavy in the air, Claire realized the battle was far from over, and the outcome would demand more than she ever thought she could give. Claire clenched Sophie tighter, their breaths quickening in unison as the figure etched haunting promises in the air. "You think you can stand against me? I can taste your fear, Claire, and it feeds me." "Shut up," Claire shouted, her voice trembling but strong. The shadows writhed and pulsed, as if her defiance only served to infuriate them further. With each word the figure spoke, the cold scaled up a notch, sinking its icy fingers into her skin. "Mommy, I'm so scared," Sophie whispered, her voice small and fragile amid the storm. Claire's heart twisted. She raised her chin and squared her shoulders. "I won't let you take her." As the shadows drifted closer, Claire grasped the weight of the figure's offer. Power, freedom from fear. But at what cost? She wasn't going to let the darkness win. Not now, not ever. Then, flickers of memory washed over her, moments of laughter, bedtime stories, and the feel of Sophie's tiny hand in hers while strolling through sunlit parks. Those memories ignited a fire within her, warming the chill that threatened to consume them both. "Together, Sophie," she said, her voice steady. "We fight together." With a deep breath, Claire pulled Sophie closer. "On the count of 3, we run. Ready?" Sophie nodded rapidly, eyes wide with a mix of terror and trust. 1, 2. The shadows recoiled as lights flared briefly in the distance, a glimmer of hope amidst the encroaching darkness. Claire felt an ancient pulse thrumming in the ground beneath them, a force that had been buried under fear and chaos. 3. They launched forward, their feet pounding against the hard ground. However, the shadows erupted, closing in, desperate to reclaim their prize. Claire pushed against them, sheer will driving her forward despite the icy tendrils brushing against her skin. "Keep running," Claire shouted, tears streaming down her face from the cold and fear, but she kept moving, clutching Sophie like a lifeline. But then came the sudden shift, a breathtaking pull that yanked at the fabric of reality around them. The air thickened with whispers, filling Claire's ears with a cacophony of voices, all pleading, all warning. "Claire, don't look back. Don't." A sharp pain sliced through her heel as a shadow latched on, teeth like daggers biting into her flesh. She faltered, losing momentum. The figure's laughter swelled, vibrating through her bones. "You thought you could escape me? It's a bargain, sweet Claire. Let go of her never," she hissed, her voice barely a whisper now, bloodied and beaten, but still defiant. As she struggled to break free, all the lights flickered, a fading memory of warmth amidst the dark. The ground trembled beneath them. The abyss quivered with renewed fury, shadows pooling and swirling, hungry for despair. "Mommy, I feel it," Sophie cried, her small voice trembling with fear. The darkness began to pull them backward. Claire could feel the cold seep into her bones. Her heart thudded violently as adrenaline surged through her veins, overriding pain. She lunged forward once more, forcing herself to make that final leap. But just as she felt nearly free, Sophia's small form suddenly vanished. "Mommy?" came the frightened, breathless whisper from the void. Claire's scream tore from her throat, a desperate sound echoing into the thickening shadows. "Sophie." And then she understood. The figure had its grip firmly on her daughter now, corrupted laughter enveloping them both. Claire's resolve hardened into a Molotov cocktail of rage and despair. The choice had already been made. Sophie was worth everything. "Let her go," Claire roared, her voice cutting through the malevolence that swirled about. Her eyes shot to the figure, a dark silhouette against the unearthly light now painting the world in sharp contrasts. But the abyss pulsed with a different reality. The shadows seemed to grow thicker, darker, a churning mass of regret and sorrow. And in that moment, Claire realized the depths of her struggle were only just beginning. In the distance, she could still hear the echoes of Sophia's voice, soft, sad, and haunting, mixing with the chaos. "Mommy, help me." Sophie was still there, caught between realms, but was it a clever trap? Could Claire save her? Or was the price of victory too high to bear? The dark laughter crested again, taunting. "What will you sacrifice, dear Claire? Everything or only your child?" This choice hovered like an omen, a question without a clear answer, leaving Claire to grapple with the enormity of her next step. Could she save Sophie from the shadows? The conclusion loomed like a darkness threatening to swallow her whole. Claire's resolve coiled tightly around her heart, a lifeline hanging in the balance. The shadows encircled her, clinging to her like an omnipresent fog while the figure loomed closer, a dark specter whispering hunger and despair. In that pivotal moment, what needed to unfold didn't just hang in the air. It gripped Claire's very soul. She clenched her fists, determination reigniting a fire within her that felt limitless. "No!" she screamed, her voice fierce against the oppressive darkness. "You will not take her. Sophie, hold on." Claire surged forward, the abyss resisting her every move, a suffocating weight pulling at her from every direction. But with every ounce of maternal instinct roiling inside her, she would not bend or break. "Sophie." Her heart echoed the name, vibrations reverberating through the shifting shades that loomed around them. "I'm coming for you." A flicker of movement broke through the haze, a whisper of warmth guiding Claire's rush. She dove deeper into the swirling shadows, as tendrils reached for her like grasping fingers, threading through the very fabric of her being. "Never!" she shouted, and the intensity of her cry sliced through the clamoring whispers. "You can't have her." Suddenly, the air vibrated, crackling with raw energy, and in a moment that stretched into an eternity, Claire surged forth, both feet pounding against the cold ground as she pushed through the chaos. The figure writhed, its weighty presence rippling like a storm, attempting to engulf her spirit. But with the sound of Sophia's laughter still lingering in her ears, Claire's love surged forth. "We're a team, Sophie. We can break this." With all she had left, Claire shunted the darkness aside, her own light igniting against the cold void. She charged toward the edge, but the figure's voice mocked. its chill wrapping around her like spindly vines. You think you can deny the inevitable? What will you sacrifice, Claire? Time fragmented as Claire reached the edge of the abyss, her mind racing through the eternal, unanswered questions that twisted painfully. But a different realization struck. There was no decision to be made. Her love for Sophie was the shield that would break through the shadows. I choose my daughter. I choose love, Claire bellowed, and in that moment, something beautiful and terrifying unfolded. The darkness recoiled, the figure gasping as the air crackled and shimmered around them. No, it screamed, shadows tearing, unraveled by the sheer will of Claire's heart. Claire focused only on that familiar warmth and the soul she had nurtured. She could feel Sophie's little hands slipping through the dark grasp, fighting against the pull of despair. "Mommy!" Sophie cried, a sound brimming with both innocence and fear. "I'm here. I see you," Claire bellowed, a surge of love propelling her even faster. With every ounce of strength she could muster, she dove through the lingering darkness, grasping for her daughter in a world where shadows sought to drown hope. Suddenly, a spark ignited a brilliant light surrounding them both, fracturing the walls that had held them captive. In a luminous embrace, Claire felt Sophie's small form merge with her own grasp, warmth overcoming the icy grip of despair. "Got you," Claire cried, her heartbeat echoing in her ears. Together, they pulled back from the brink of nothingness, enveloped by the glowing warmth that expanded against the violence. The darkness screeched, disbanding like smoke in the wind, fraying its hold as they broke free. With a thunderous crash, the abyss splintered, shadows dissipating into whispers of confusion and rage. The figure melted into the night, its malevolence screaming into silence, swept away by the brilliance lighting the path ahead. As Claire and Sophie landed safely back into the familiar embrace of their home, the walls pulsed once more, but this time, a warmth radiated from within. The whispers that had tormented them faded to soft sighs, promising peace instead of dread. Holding Sophie tight against her, Claire felt her heart swell with relief, the terror of the night dissipating like morning mist. "You're safe," she whispered, brushing a thumb over her daughter's cheek. "I was scared, Mommy," Sophie murmured, her innocent voice trembling. But Claire could hear the resolve in it now. "I know, sweetheart, but I will always be here to protect you. We fought that darkness together and we won." With newfound strength in the quiet of the dawn, the shadows that had once lingered were now being peeled away, their grip forever relinquished. Claire stepped outside, breathing in the crisp air, the sun breaking through clouds, bathing everything in a warm embrace. "There's still so much to explore," Sophie smiled brightly, her little hand holding Claire's, her heart full. Claire knew they had faced the darkness and won. The memory of that dreadful night would stay with them, a low echo of caution, but now it stood as a testament to their resilience. Together, they stepped forward, leaving behind the whispers of the haunted past. Theirs was a story of love, survival, and the unwavering bond only they could share. The future was theirs to write now. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, and let us know you're passionate about these wild tales. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about Claire and Sophie's journey. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible conclusion. Your support makes a huge difference in bringing more exhilarating content your way.